Hello and welcome back to another video where I just have something to get off my chest. I have big feelings right now about something that I hate. Shorts or reels or TikToks just in general. And no, I don't hate them. I just hate that I have to make short form content to be successful as a content creator. I think that's rude. Why don't you want to listen to me yapping for 10 to 20 minutes, huh? No, I'm just kidding. I understand why you might not want to do that. But this video is about me making a couple of YouTube shorts to sacrifice to the algorithm so that it doesn't forget that I exist. I'm just gonna walk you through my process of my very little experience with animation and animatics, so let's get into it. So this first video is the favorite characters trend to the song Sienna by the Marias. I've seen the trend making its rounds. Is it still making rounds? Probably not. The algorithm moves way too fast. But if you haven't seen it, the idea is that a person picks favorite characters because they identify with them or because they relate to them in one way or another. And so the trend has you drawing different characters to go along with the music. It's very cute and like a little window into someone's personality. And I just, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this trend in particular, because as a cosplayer, as an artist, as someone who likes to overshare a little too much in a casual setting, it's like this trend was made for me. Of course, the most complicated part of this was that I decided that at the very start of this 30-second clip, I needed to make a little animation of myself with my hair getting blown around in the wind, all dramatic like. I didn't do anything crazy. I just tried my best to make it look like there was a big puff of air that went through my hair. And when I realized that this segment was longer than I thought and that the rest of the video was going to look disproportionately low effort, I copied the clips in reverse order so that it looked like my hair was coming back down. There will be a time and a place when I actually sit down to try and get better at animating, and I might film that process as well. This particular short is not the time and place. I just really wanted to put something cute together, and just animating this hair took me like 2 hours, which was actually about a third of the time that I spent on this entire reel, which is altogether far too much time. And yes, if you are curious, I am animating in Krita, the wonderful, fantastic, completely free art program that I have been using for forever. You can just go to settings, dockers, and then check the dockers that you need. The only dockers that I have personally used while animating are the animation timeline and the onion skins, but there are a lot of other things in there as well. Do I know what they do? Absolutely not. Everything I know about Krita and how it works has been very poorly self-taught. I'm not a good, credible source of information for how to do this, but I am here to possibly make it look a little more approachable for someone who is overwhelmed at the prospect of animating like myself. So obviously the animation timeline is your big bar at the bottom. Your different layers in Krita will correspond to different layers in your timeline. Like for me, I have my background layer, a sketch layer, and my main animation layer where I'm doing all my final line art. In the animation timeline, of course, you have pause, play, fast forward, speed, all that fun stuff, but you also have a little audio button, so you can actually import the audio that you want to animate to help you with like timing and stuff. And of course, these 3 bars here are a very important little drop down menu. It shows you how many frames total you have in your animation and also how fast your animation is going, as in how many frames per second. I had mine going at 3, but I do some editing later for reasons. It's also really easy to change frames around too. You can just click and drag in the animation timeline. You can copy and paste frames to have a repeating effect. You can right click to access a menu to create blank frames, delete frames, duplicate frames, all sorts of fun things. And then on the left, that's where I put my onion skins. It's kind of like layers but horizontal instead of vertical, if that makes sense. Basically, it shows you the frame that you drew before and the frame that you drew after. You can adjust all of the little bars, they're sliders, if you want to see more frames at once, or if you want the previous or next frames to show up in a different color, just things to help your animation look a little smoother frame to frame. I know this is like the most basic of basic information that I could possibly give, and honestly there's not a whole lot more that I can teach because I've got a long way to go in my personal animation journey. But I just wanted it to be a little less intimidating. After all, if I knew a thing or two about animation, it probably wouldn't have taken me over 6 hours just to make this short. But hey, I just wanted to make it seem a little more approachable. So what I'm doing here is that I want to have that sort of like wiggly line art effect when the video plays. So I'm actually just drawing line art for the same image but twice. And I'm actually trying my best to stay as close as possible to the first drawing, but just with pen pressure settings and the way drawing works, it's really hard, believe it or not, to make 2 drawings that are exactly perfectly alike. So you kind of naturally get that wiggling effect. You'll also see see that every single time as soon as I finish animating a character, I am immediately going back to watch the short over and over because I'm just a girl in desperate need of serotonin. I need instant rewards for any work that I do, and I will admit watching the little animated frames do what I want them to do is so satisfying. I guess I should talk a little bit about each of the characters maybe. I don't know. These are genuinely some of my favorite characters, either out of aesthetic, characters I sympathize with strongly, characters I just love, characters that mean a lot to me. I don't necessarily think I'm like all of them in all ways, but boy howdy are a lot of them just sad little guys. A lot of them do overcome that sadness, and a handful of them don't live to the end of the story, but I'm not gonna think about that. We're not gonna dwell on that. I just love me a sad little guy, okay? So our first character that we had up was Persephone from Lore Olympus. The creator, Rachel Smith, I'm not sure which one it is. She has a very pretty, concise, effective art style, and I'm such a sucker for just a modern story with mythology cookie cutter. I also really like the character arc of Persephone herself. A lot of it was relatable. A lot of the conversations that she has with herself and with others reflects a lot of what I have felt over the course of my own character arc, if you will. I love that she wasn't always brave. I love that she didn't always have solutions. She felt all of her emotions very deeply. She was angry, she was sad, she doubts herself, she doubts her own trauma, and she still has her happy ending. She still finds resolution, closure, and also, not to mention, I myself am a real shorty that got myself a very tall man for no reason. I didn't intentionally go looking for someone that tall. I promise I didn't mean to. In fact, I felt really guilty about it for a very long time. But on to the second character. She doesn't really need an explanation. Jester Lavore is just a fan favorite. She's so lovable. I put her in here maybe a little less for her character and personality. I do really like her. She's fun, she's bubbly. More importantly to me, she's the reason that I got seriously into cosplaying and costuming. She was the first cosplay that I completely sewed by myself. She was my first foray into painting myself various colors, and let me just say that was absolutely life-changing. Deciding to paint myself blue that one random day in 2021 was probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life, which is such a weird thing to say. Third, we have Eric Lenscher, or Magneto from the X-Men series, a bona fide sad boy if I ever saw one. This one was an interesting pull. I think I thought of him because I watched X-Men First Class relatively recently with a bunch of my friends. After watching the movie, I was like, I'm absolutely on Magneto's side. Are you kidding me? He's a very compelling villain with an absolutely heart-wrenching backstory. I would have 100% joined his team. I would have gone on probably the exact same villain arc if the same things had happened to me. And also, in one of the movies, doesn't he actually literally try to do his best to not be a supervillain? He tried so hard to live a normal life, and yet the trauma kept rolling in. I do worry sometimes that if I didn't inherit so much anxiety from my mom, that maybe I would have actually become a supervillain. Anyways, next is probably one of my first favorite characters. She's maybe my first memory of something that I could call a favorite character, Padme and Queen Amidala. My dad really loves the Star Wars movies. I really love the Star Wars movies, so I have a lot of very good memories of watching them with him. And I think Queen Amidala is where my love for women in positions of power and also beautiful and practical fashion came from. Genuinely, I don't think my life would be the same if I hadn't had such a profound love for Senator Amidala in my youth. She is smart, she's brave, she's beautiful, and she's just everything I want to be. You know, she's still not beating the little sad guy allegations at all, but it's okay. The fifth character I had in the lineup is Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. Kiki's Delivery Service was a movie from my childhood. I remember watching it quite often when I was really little, and then I forgot about it for like 15 years of my life, and then I watched it again and I was shaken to my bones about how ridiculously accurate this movie was to my own life story. Little Witch, big dreams and a love of cats. She works super hard. She moves to the big city. She overworks herself. She burns herself out. She loses her spark, her magic, and then she ends up having to take some time to herself, be in the country, enjoy art, and has to find that little spark of magic again. I'm still working on that last bit, but I'm getting there. And also, one of my cat's actual names is Grohl, but I call him Gigi, and it wasn't because of the movie. It was just something that happened on accident. To top it all off, Kiki meets a Sir Yapsalot blonde boy with glasses who's super obsessed with building planes, and my tall boy, he's one of them too. I actually gasped when I rewatched the movie because not me actually just being Kiki. That's crazy. Next character, I think she's the hardest to identify from just the drawing, Gwen Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man. And spoiler alert, she does not have a particularly happy ending. Look, I know The Amazing Spider-Man is probably universally seen as one of the least favorite Spider-Man movies in existence for, you know, fair reasons. I'm not here to argue. It was just an important Spider-Man movie to me personally. It was a lighthearted movie that I watched when I was going through a hard time, and I think as someone who was originally on the course to becoming a chemical engineer, Gwen Stacy was just such an icon for me. I found her character very inspiring, and of course my love for women in STEM is endless. So this next character is Lenore from Castlevania. She's my favorite character from my favorite franchise right now. Also not a happy ending character, but perhaps it's the happiest ending she could have had. Maybe the happiest ending she deserved. I did relate in a weird way to her role as the diplomat, the one that smooths things over with people, the mediator, and then also her panic when she couldn't find fulfillment in her role or when she felt like she could no longer contribute. A very unfortunately relatable sequence of emotions. But I wouldn't say I aspire to be like Lenore. I wouldn't say she's a role model. Yeah, definitely not a role model. And for the last character of the lineup, I decided to put Jade Harley. This one was kind of a weird pull. It's Homestuck. Again, it's just a very nostalgic thing for me. Yes, it's okay, you can boo me. Tomatoes, tomatoes, I know. You know what they say. Don't kill the cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. Jade Harley was my favorite character in the series. Another incredibly smart, powerful woman in STEM with excellent fashion taste. I'm just predictable, okay? I'm so predictable, sue me. But with that very brief breakdown of the characters, ooh, look, this isn't Krita. This is a program that we don't get to see on my channel. It's DaVinci Resolve. Welcome to a little behind the scenes editing, because whenever I Krita render my animations, for some reason it just didn't line up with the audio anymore. I am actually not sure what happened because this hasn't happened to me before. I've never had Krita do that to me. I've never had that happen with previous projects. I don't know if it was something wrong with my settings or what it was, but it wasn't a problem. I just took my audio and my rendered videos separately and then used DaVinci Resolve to help me adjust the speeds to make things line up a little better with the music. It's not exactly perfect, but I didn't know what else I should have done. So with that, that's my first animation of the video and the majority of this video. I did post a short already a couple of days ago, which a lot of you have probably seen already, but I'm not one for making you run around and look for different links and whatnot, so let's have a little reveal. On to the second short of this video. This one took me a lot shorter. I could have done a much nicer, proper render for this one if I really wanted it to take a lot longer, but I did want to give a little credit to the side of shorts that's like, oh, it doesn't actually have to be a high effort 6 hours of animation kind of thing. The unfortunate thing about being an artist or a creative and short form content is that it doesn't take 30 seconds to put these things together, and then people only watch it for 30 seconds and I'm getting paid by the hours that you spend watching, not the hours hours that I spend making things. And I think as a society, we've become super desensitized to how long art and crafting and making takes. And that's aside from editing for videos after the fact. And I find myself falling into this trap too, like those pottery glazing videos where they say, come back in 2 weeks for the reveal. And I'm like, darn you and your realistic timelines for making painting and firing pottery. I want to see how it looks now. I get it though, because there's a huge push for the short form content. It keeps people's attention, it keeps them on the apps. But I have a hard time prioritizing shorts because also I'm kind of terrified of going viral. I don't really want to get stuck doing the same thing over and over again just because it did well by luck. I made this channel to have an outlet to share all of the bad crafting decisions I make as I try a bunch of new hobbies that I'm wildly underqualified for, and also to talk about my made-up D&D world for a really long time. That being said, I am in love with those shorts that people do for their OCs where you get like a little peek into their lives and it's dramatic or fun music or some audio clip, and those shorts are a lot of work that I'm very afraid to commit to, but I love watching people be excited about original characters, and those kinds of shorts make getting to know original characters very approachable. I never know how to market my OCs besides being like, hey, look, I drew another hot lady, please love me. And you guys do, and I do really appreciate that. But specifically, a lot of the shorts I watch are very Empress Madrive and Ionia coded, at least in my eyes. Ionia and Madrive are from my D&D world building lore, and they have a sort of undefined, unequal relationship. They are the two oldest creatures on the continent. Ionia witnessed the Empress become the Empress. She has seen the trail of death that Madrive left in her wake on her path to becoming such. Ionia is the Empress's most loyal dog and has done the violent deeds on behalf of Her Majesty so that Madrive need not sully her own hands. But the deeper question is Ionia truly a loyal person because she chooses and desires to be? Is she loyal out of fear for the power that the Empress holds? Or is she sworn to an oath that she wishes to break but cannot for fear of worse fate from a higher power? Only time will tell. There's a little part of me that really just wants to make a series of shorts surrounding my favorite NPCs in my world building process and just introduce a little character and personality. Okay, it's not a very small part of me, it's a pretty significant portion of my brain that is just constantly playing cool music videos and animated sequence of my D&D characters. This one I didn't actually animate in Krita. This short is made of only 3 different frames, so it's the main image where they're both looking at each other, one that has Madrive's silhouette blacked out and the other one with Ionia's silhouette. And then I just used DaVinci Resolve to type out the lyrics, line up the shots to the music, and send the render. And with that, we can watch this last little animated short. But with that is all for this video. I know it was a little bit different, a little unusual. I've never done an animation/animatic process video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it nonetheless. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, you can also let me know. It's okay, I'll forgive you, and I promise not to overthink it because I have never overthinked anything in my life ever. Both of my shorts are already on this channel. You can find them and watch them again as many times as you'd like, and hopefully once the busyness of the holiday season has passed, I will come back with some more shorts. But as always, who knows? Not me.